You may be thinking, hey Vance, can't I just, buy the latest installment of my favorite video game and tank through it using a dictionary? Um, no. In this digital era of the internet and YouTube and everything, it's really easy to, just start getting different items in Japanese. So studying has never been easy. Literally, it has never been easier until now. But you can't just, you can't just go ahead and buy something and bang through it and expect yourself to, just become a master of Japanese in a couple of years. I mean, maybe you can. I can't. If you haven't studied anything of Japanese, you need a good starting point. And I'm a proud student of Nama Sensei, and I learned the very basics from him. So go ahead and watch him. I like to think there's two levels of studying Japanese. The first one is being a beginner, you don't know anything, and the second one is being self-sufficient as a student. The first exciting goal is getting to that second phase. It's very important that when you study Japanese, you have a very defined path to follow, and thankfully it's really easy because there's something called the Nihongo Noryoku Shiken, which is the certification test. And thankfully, the certification tests actually provide you with a very good idea of how you're going to study. If you don't know anything of Japanese, there's two ways you can start studying. The first one is taking a class. If you take a class, it's probably going to be about 3 years long, and that's going to prepare you for the N4 certification test. And once you get to that N4 level, you're basically self-sufficient as a student, and you can keep on studying all on your own. And the other way is studying by yourself, and that's using textbooks. You're gonna need textbooks in English. So the ones I recommend are the Genki textbooks. I personally never used them. I've seen the content, and from what I gathered, that's pretty much the idea of these textbooks, to prepare you all the way to N4 level. So once you get to the second portion, which is being self-sufficient, then you're gonna want to study for the N3 test. I like to think of the N3 test as a breaking point between being intermediate and being a beginner, being intermediate, and being advanced. And when you get to N3 level, that's when things get really fun, because what you want to do there is you want to keep studying for the certification tests, but it's not gonna be easy anymore, because if you're in N3 level or studying for N3 level, then you probably know already about 200 or 300 kanji by heart. I mean the easier ones, of course. And you're gonna need to learn a lot more. You're gonna need to learn a lot more grammar. You're gonna need to learn a lot more vocabulary, and you're gonna have to keep yourself in contact with the language at least every day. In order for you to keep studying and keep being in contact with the language, that's where imports play a big role. One important aspect of keeping yourself in contact with the language is knowing what media content to get, so you can keep learning and you can actually enjoy the content or the story or whatever you're getting. So there's a lot you can buy. I mean, there's of course video games, there's light novels, there's manga, of course, and there's anime. So you have to be able to sort out which ones are going to help you and which ones might be a little too difficult for you. So if you're starting for the N3 level, probably the best thing for you is manga, but you have to know which manga to buy. So what about K-On!, for example? I'm studying N3 level, and I know that K-On! Has a lot of silly dialogue, and well, probably the manga is really easy to read, right? Well, no, not really. This is probably one of the hardest books you can buy to try to read if you're studying for N3 level, and that's because it fits in a college demographic. And if you know a lot about manga, you know that there's a lot of different, demographics and names and categories and genres. If you're studying for N3 level, then there's two very important demographics I think you should consider, and that's shonen and shoujo. Now, shoujo is a little easier to read, so if you want to start with something easy, then you're gonna want to start with shoujo, and then you can move on to shonen. However, you have to be careful with shonen, because if you're gonna read, especially shonen from the 80s, this can be a bit difficult. But if you're studying for N3, then you probably shouldn't have any problems. And what you want to do is start reading a lot. You need to read a lot. So you can get these from Amazon. What about video games? Are video games too difficult for me at this point? Well, no, you can actually start playing a lot of video games. What I recommend is going over some of your favorites, replaying. You can practice a lot of new vocabulary and keep yourself in contact with the language by replaying some of your favorites in Japanese. And you can of course get some more friendly games that can help you learn about menus and some other type of vocabulary. What about anime? Should I just shell out the money and start buying Blu-rays of my favorite series? Well, no. I actually advise you against this, because all the anime Blu-rays I bought don't have subtitles in Japanese, and that's not very good for you, because if you're gonna watch subtitle anime, then you might as well just go ahead and get a Crunchyroll subscription, and just I don't recommend this. It costs a lot of money, and unless you're rich, I'm not, but unless you're rich, then or a big fan of something, you probably shouldn't do it. Hey Vance, I've cleared N3 level and I'm studying for N2 level. What can I do now? If you're studying for N2 level, that's where you can start scaling. You can start reading harder content. So that's when I recommend going over to Josei and Seinen categories of manga. Basically, in my experience, Josei is easier to read for people that are scaling up in their level, and Seinen is for people that have already mastered the N2 kanji. Wait, doesn't that mean I am already ready for the test? No. If you're already mastered the kanji, then that doesn't mean you know all the grammar, that doesn't mean you know all the vocabulary, so you are gonna learn it by reading. Even more than that, if you're studying for N2 level, then you should probably start getting some light novels. And the Dengeki line of light novels is actually very easy to get and very easy to read. Sadly, personally, I would advise from attempting to read anything from Nishio Ishin. I know a lot of you know him, but it's difficult to do it. And this is where you can actually start playing video games and you can start enjoying them. So, thankfully, a lot of video games today are actually region free, except Nintendo video games. Why am I showing this to you? So I'm trying to study kanji, but I don't know what to do. And you're gonna need something called Anki. This is like cheating because it uses something called spaced repetition. And I know if you're watching this video, you're gonna Google that, so I'm not gonna talk about spaced repetition. So basically, spaced repetition is like cheating because, well, it becomes really easy to learn new characters and learn how to read. So if I'm gonna study for the M3 level and up, what books do you recommend? So I've been following a series of books called Nihongo Soumatome. You can find those on Amazon. I like the way they cover the content, and they're very Anki friendly, so I can recommend those. Actually, those are the ones I follow almost exclusively. Another series of books that are really good are the Kansen Master series. And what I like the most about the Kansen Master series is the audio portions for practicing your listening skills. And what to do once I'm done studying for the Norikuchiken tests. Let's say you're already N1 level, so you know Japanese basically. What can I do now? There's basically another test called the Kanji Kente, which only tests kanji, and that's reading, writing, and recognizing which ones are supposed to be used in certain situations. And I would like to think that if you want to master Japanese, you have to master all the Norikuchiken levels, and you have to master at least level 2 or level 3 of Kanji Kente. So there's definitely always a way to challenge yourself, and if you don't keep challenging yourself with this language, then you're gonna drop it. So that covers the way I train my Japanese. It does require a lot of discipline. You need to keep studying every day. Let's say about 10 or 20 minutes. I usually do it when I'm on the train or on a bus, because I can. If you won't let me buy video games or buy manga or buy anything I want because it might be too difficult for me, can I at least buy figures? Sure, there's no problem with that. Buy figures. This is a hard matchup, I know, especially if you don't have a lot of time. If you're trying to learn enough Japanese to follow at least fighting game menus and other stuff like that, then I recommend getting to at least M4 level. M4 level will be pretty much enough to follow the menus and everything else you need. All the basics are going to be covered up to that level, and if you want to learn more, then you can always keep studying. There's no problem with that. Thanks for watching. By the way, if you're gonna replay games, you don't have to break bank. Like, yeah. If you're gonna replay your favorite games, then try not to break your bank. Like, sometimes I do. But I know you're gonna do it anyway, so I don't know what I'm telling you this.